who we like.
Hello and welcome to the latest from Hearts Standard. My name is Joel Sked and I'm delighted to be joined by Craig Cairns, who is no longer in Copenhagen. He has returned to Dundee and has been trying to fix his light in his room.
I know, I've made it worse. It's like I'm just sitting in a dark cave now.
How's it going, Craig?
Yeah, pretty good. As I was saying to you, maybe getting a wee bit delirious from the tiredness. I was up at 5:30 this morning, basically to get a couple of planes via Oslo. First of all, a train to the airport, and then a pretty brutal drive back up from Edinburgh, like traffic on the, I don't know what it even is, on the bridge on the way over, and then that ongoing carnage between Perth and Dundee, man. So back, tired, not had a good night's sleep in a couple of nights, unfortunately, and I wish it was because I was like on the piss with Michael Stewart or Craig Halkett or something like that, but it was not. It was much more annoying than that.
Yeah, I will prolong talking about this game for as much as possible. So, game aside, how was your trip? Did you enjoy it? And I'm guessing the football itself was probably, other than the leaking roof in your room, the worst part of it.
Yeah, but even then, the experience, just as a journalist, to do that for the first time at such a great venue and such a great city, I mean, that was great. But yeah, going there wanting Hearts to get a result or put in a performance, yeah, that was a very disappointing aspect of it. As was what you've alluded to 2 nights ago. I must have been asleep for about 2.5 hours. It's about 3 a.m, and I wake up with the sound of dripping in my room. It's over towards the door, but it's like loads of like splashing. Quite a significant amount of water is like dripped by the time I've got there, and it's running down the other wall as well and into the sort of light sockets and stuff. And I was reluctant at first. I was like, did I just sleep through it and it'll stop? But I thought, no, I have to, because when I saw it in the light fixtures and stuff. So throw clothes on, go downstairs. To cut a long story short, somebody above me, no idea who, was drunk and had fallen asleep in their shower.
Had to be a Hearts fan. Absolutely had to be a Hearts fan.
Just about everybody I've told the story to has said was a Hearts fan.
Yeah.
I did ask if they were Scottish. The person, the guy at reception that sort of helped me deal with it all and moved me room and stuff. He said he didn't know, but the name definitely sounded British. Probably shouldn't have given me the name, but definitely sounded British.
I'm not going to ask you to name and shame.
No, I'm not. I can't remember. I can only remember half of it. So,
because I was going to ask you off it anyway. But yeah, it seems like dodgy or hotel issues have been the norm for us this season, going back to pre-season in Tenerife. But yeah, it was. I definitely, and I'm writing this, I've kind of wrote this I kind of started it in my analysis / opinion piece from the game, in that seeing everything yesterday on Wednesday, folk go to Copenhagen, being in the old Irish pub with all the guitarists singing Heart songs, and then seeing the stadium as well. I know I've been once before, but being able to see Hearts in there, it was the massive FOMO missing out. But as well as it just looked like a great trip to a great stadium, with the usual where the best moments are nothing to do with the football itself.
Aye, pretty much. But I have to say, the being there in that kind of venue and working in that, it was just fantastic.
Good.
Football aside,
which we will get on to. Your setup does look like it's you're a part of a horror movie, so we will stick on that theme. and speak about Hearts. I'm going to say horror show because they were up against a very, very good side who I think went up level knowing that they needed to win, most likely win on Thursday night. Either side off a cup tie against a second-tier side, so they were able to rest players. So it wasn't ideal timing for Hearts to face Copenhagen, and that's certainly how it turned out. I watched it on TV. I've watched it back again, unfortunately, and you were there at the stadium. What did you, kind of going back to the start, what did you make of the starting 11 from Neil Critchley? Obviously, Halkett was out because of injury, Musa because he was ineligible, and came out. James Johnson came out, and they were replaced by Vargas, Forrest, and Kent. So I think I got 10 out of 11, and we predicted 11. But I had it down as I had it down. Then you had it down when you put the team news yesterday that it was like kind of 4-4-2, 4-2-3-1. It turned out to be a 4-3-3, similar to kind of setup-ish to the game against Celtic at Tynecastle recently.
Yeah, it was a completely flat midfield three. I suppose, yet again, it's been the same for just about as many of the Critchley games as I can remember, that we've guessed the majority of the lineup, but we've got the shape wrong. And when we say the shape, we just mean how the front four are configured, or in this case, the midfield as well. So I wasn't too surprised with anything in the lineup. It was a wee bit disappointing to not see Halkett there at all. At first, when we heard he wasn't playing and Kent was, and hadn't seen the lineup, just assumed that he was going to be on the bench, and it was possible because it had been mentioned that the same back issue that it seems to be trouble on him just now, that was mentioned after he came on in the Aberdeen game. That was mentioned after that. So it would have made sense potentially with so many games in quick succession not to rush him, but give him too much football, whatever. But unfortunately, it seems to be a bit worse than that. And I don't know, I suppose Hearts' chances of going through haven't changed hugely with the result, but it still comes down to like winning this final game. But I suppose the story of the night is really those two injuries and the impact that it could potentially have on a set of winnable league fixtures that are coming up.
Yeah.
Sorry to kind of move on so quickly from the game that we're talking about, what you want to talk about, but I felt that was really the big thing, because I don't think anybody really expected Hearts to go and give as good as they got against Copenhagen. And you saw right from the first seconds that they just showed their dominance right from kickoff. You could see that there was, and I think the occasion got to some of the Hearts players a wee bit. And then they're really up against it when you take their most experienced, or their the
defensive
one of the better defenders out there, and the other one's already missing, and it's just, and then you think about somebody like Kyle Vassell lying in wait, and on Sunday it's slightly worrying.
We'll come on to speak about Kelly, and we'll come on to touch on Petro Cup and kind of just the ramifications of that. But of course, we'll be able to speak in more depth at the start of next week about Petro Cup. But yeah, in terms of the game, I think that was a big takeaway for like the kind of short, medium, even long term future, depending on how long the guys are out. But in the here and now, I think it was a different type of disappointment to the game. The losses against Heidenheim and Cercle Bruges. Heidenheim were a good side who were able to step up after half-time, made a couple of changes. Hearts did give as pretty much as good as they got. Cercle Bruges was frustrating because they, remarkably, they're one of the 16 clubs that have already qualified, but they look bang average. So that was... and missing their best players. So that was really frustrating, just how that game transpired. Copenhagen, the way the first 25 minutes, I think it was, Hearts got there was such a chasm between between the quality of the both sides, and you really seen it. And over the 90 minutes, it was probably as a dominant performance from an opposition side as we like to see this season against Hearts. And there was elements where it just reminded you of going to Old Firm, especially the first half, where Hearts just didn't get out and they just didn't take care of the ball. While I wasn't expecting Hearts to go there and win. I thought like a draw would have been fantastic. A draw would have been one of the best away results, certainly in the last 20 years, because there's not been that many. And I didn't think that was out. I didn't think that was unrealistic. Just by watching a bit of Copenhagen over the last few weeks, the chances they've been giving up, how they have been getting the results but being unconvincing in it. So I think there was a element of frustration that Hearts didn't test the Copenhagen defence or the goalkeeper, who I'm a huge fan of, nearly enough. And it was just such a kind of nothing performance as an attacking outfit. And I suppose that kind of told us, or hammered home everything that Hearts fans know, that there needs to be upgrades to take this team forward. There needs to be upgrades in the final third. There were so many opportunities, or not opportunities, so many moments last night, especially in the first half, where Hearts broke with the ball. Hearts got the ball and just didn't have the pace that you're needing at this level to take the team up the pitch and really hurt the opposition. And then it came down to decision making as well. Forrest, Vargas, and Shankland all had moments where they just made the wrong decision, and either it put Hearts in trouble, as Forrest did, or it stopped a promising attack with Vargas and Shankland. What I would say about Shankland is, compared to Vargas and Forrest, he was very, very good at holding the ball in, winning fouls, relieving pressure. The other two simply weren't good enough at doing that. Vargas, especially when the ball went into him, it would just come back.
Yeah, I kind of singled out Vargas in my post-match, and it wasn't.
You weren't the only one.
Yeah, but it wasn't to kind of pick on him for that, put that performance on him, or say that he was any worse than Forrest, say, or pick any other number of players. It wasn't that. It was more to highlight that he made comments recently about wanting to be tested at a higher level and wanting to play in a top 5 league and things like that, and he looked a bit out of his depth against the opposition. I thought yesterday he wasn't, again, stressed. Not the only one. It's just he's kind of set that. He's what's the word I'm looking for? He's getting hung by his own petard. I don't even really know what that means. I'm trying to think of an equivalent, but he hoisted it as even, isn't it? Yeah. Not even hung.
He kind of set his bar. And he's, in terms of what he wants to achieve. And again, it's nights like last night where you really need to get that move, even more so than performing in the Premiership. You need to perform on that level and kind of show you belong there. That didn't happen.
And then against the Circle, he did a lot more. He created probably the best, Hearts' best chance of the game. But he had a few chances of his own, and he was wasteful. And he's not done much really since he made those comments. And that's it. And we're still at this stage where Shankland's not scoring. There's not many others kind of stepping up.
Yeah, that was certainly the story of last season. I don't think there's not, and we've talked about this before. There's a lot of options here for Critchley, but not enough players who have put in a performance or shown enough to think, right, I'm deserving of a starting spot. That's why you've got Musa coming back in, and straight away you're looking to Sunday. Musa's going to be in the starting 11 because, again, no one's really stepped up. You're thinking James Wilson is going to start again, especially with Shankland missing, but we'll get to Sunday very shortly. The
I could just say as well, though, because you're asking about the lineup and stuff.
yeah.
The bench, the Hearts bench was just worrying. Looking at this, and it just shows you that for all the part of its injuries, definitely there's quite a lot of key players missing, and that's obviously we should point that out that's hamstrung both Critchley and Hearts to an extent in the game last night. When you take out that many players, because we're talking about Benny, Neuenhoff's been long term. There's like even things like down to the third choice. So third choice right-sided centre back and third choice right back are playing against a team like Copenhagen, for instance.
Yeah.
I mean, they are up against it, but the bench was quite worrying, I thought, last night. It didn't look like there was much there to change things. And I thought they did really well to get to 0-0 at half time. And then, I mean, in one sense, you could think, well, if you don't concede so long after half time, then maybe you can start to frustrate them a bit more. They start to rush things a bit more. But at the same time, they probably should have had a goal before half-time, and they created a number of chances just after scoring as well. And on another day, they're 3 or 4-0 up, like on an hour or something like that.
That's it. I was going to say that for like the first half was essentially survival. Copenhagen cut Hearts open a couple of times, had some really good opportunities. It was down to last-ditch defending from Rowles and Penrice, or Craig Gordon making a save, and then after the goal, Craig Gordon making a save. And perhaps one of the most frustrating thing is that El Yunusi was playing off the right, and him and Klaassen were causing Hearts all sorts of issues, just dropping in front of the defence. Hearts didn't do a good job at blocking passes into them and behind the midfield three. I think it was 6 times within the first 25 minutes where one of the two centre backs for Copenhagen just played a brilliant pass behind through the lines, brave pass, and they kind of showed their quality with El Yunusi, especially was head and shoulders above everyone else, especially those wearing a Hearts top, and he was getting into areas. He was bringing dicks up, and they were just dominating. But the fact that Hearts survived. Sorry, he was 11. He was 11. Copenhagen's right back off the pitch, and yeah, El Yunusi was getting on the half turn, and it was causing Hearts so many issues. That's what made the concession of the goal so early after half time, and the manner of it so frustrating. You're watching it, and you've got the right back. He's allowed to advance, and there's 4 Hearts players that are in his vicinity. One of them, James Penrice, he shouldn't go because he's got someone else he's keeping an eye on. But Boateng, Spittle and Forrest, none of them really make a go to engage him, because you either want Dix to shoot or slip it to the right and get the ball out wide and cross and defend the cross. But they just allow him waltz through, and then they score. I mean, it was nothing. It was exactly what Copenhagen deserved for all the play they had in the first half, but it was also frustrating that, like you said, if Hearts could kind of hold on, maybe frustrate them a bit more, and then kind of Critchley talked about afterwards, when you get into a position where you think, right, we're ready to maybe engage them higher up the park and then do something, but as soon as go 1-0 against a team of that talent and quality, and how with confidence they're playing with, it becomes a very, very difficult task. Even more so when you get given a nonsensical penalty given against you.
Yeah, that first goal as well. Forrester isn't goal side of him as well. He lets him sort of drift beyond them, but you don't want to be too critical of the guy, because a few months ago he was the B team captain, and they were trying to work out which loan team to send him to in the lower leagues in Scotland. So getting chucked on because of an injury and against away to Copenhagen, I mean, it's a huge occasion. It's a big stage. So I don't mean to be too critical of the guy, but it just, like I said earlier, we're down to our third choice right back, third choice right-sided centre back. There's a couple of other players that are missing. I mean, Benny's huge in these games for control in the midfield, as well as I thought Cammy Devlin did. I thought he was one of the few deserved pass marks. him, Penrice, Gordon, I suppose, had a decent game. Anybody else?
Having watched it back, I thought the only one I wrote that said the only one I wrote that was surpassed pass marks was Craig Gordon. I think Shanklin did enough in the first half just with using his body and experience. I thought he did okay. Like you said, Devlin, especially without the ball, he was good. Penrice, you know,
I thought he got better after the break. Actually, I thought he got really fired up. He was making on the edge challenges in the second half, but not giving away fouls. Really, I thought
who's that?
Really
Devlin.
Good. Devlin, yeah, sorry.
Yeah. He won the ball back a lot and
try to get that ball recovery stat up even higher so they could absolutely out again.
And then who else? That was a bit of it. I thought I was really disappointed in. I thought Boateng probably had his worst game in a Hearts journey up there.
Didn't really see him get involved too much.
No, his position. I don't think he did a good job at blocking those passes into midfield, and then he was wasteful in possession. I mean, again, he wasn't the only one. He wasn't the only one that was wasteful in possession. But I suppose the Hearts did come into it like there was a sustained period of possession either side of the hour mark, and that's when Devlin had his the Hearts had their first shot when Devlin's effort got deflected behind for a corner. Nearly scored from the corner with an own goal. Again, that goalkeeper he isn't great at corners, and he comes for it, and then he's it was similar to the St Johnstone.
Didn't touch the ball for 20 minutes though.
No, I know. There was a St Johnstone, similar to St Johnstone corner where we scored from an own goal earlier on in the season. It was almost like that, but just when you just never felt that Hearts were going to make the next step. It always felt like it was arm's length for Copenhagen. They were keeping Hearts at arm's length, and if they needed to, they could go up a gear. I can understand Critchley's frustration afterwards with his comments that the penalty ruins it. I think it basically does it. It ends the game, but it's also not the reason that Hearts lost. Hearts lost because they were beaten by a much better side.
So this didn't really sort of click with me until today when I was going over Devlin's comments, which are going out tonight. I'm not really giving anything away here, really, but it's more like what Critchley said. It rejogged my memory of what he had said last night, where he said it took away the chance to have a right good go at the end, and I think what he was kind of suggesting was the plan was they knew the gulf, keep it, if you can keep it to just one until that late in the game and then throw everything at it. It sounded like because I think Devlin says for 45 minutes the game plan worked or something like that. Now you cannot argue that Hearts played well in that first half. So if there was a game plan to attack Copenhagen, it did not work. He must mean that it was to
keep it 0-0.
Yeah, keep it 0-0. Whatever way they do it, keep it at 0-0. And then if it or 1-0, and then keep it to 1-0 late in the game, and then have a go. And I suppose so. Do you think? Is there something in that? I suppose is what I'm asking, or is Critchley just kind of grasping at straws a wee bit there to say that took away the chance to sort of rally towards the end?
I'm kind of split because it was very bullish ahead of the game about Hearts kind of coming to Copenhagen and not both him and Blair Spittle kind of not being standoffish and wanting to have the ball. That didn't look like there was a case, and that might just be the because of the dynamic of the game where Copenhagen settle in, you're thinking, bloody hell, they're actually really good. So we kind of do need to just accept that they're going to have loads of the ball, and then we need to try and do something with it. When we did, Hearts didn't do that. That wasn't the case until further on, and maybe it was they kind of just accepted, right, just stay in the game as long as possible and then go for it. But when you do that, you're always running the risk of conceding a second goal and the game's over before you've even had the chance to have a goal. this time around, it came from a daft penalty again. It's like, what is the point of VAR when it's intervening when it's this nonsense? But that could, again, we've talked about it. Hearts were surviving through it all. Copenhagen were creating chances. Copenhagen were missing good chances. Craig Gordon was making saves. There was nothing there that really suggested to me that Hearts were capable of making that next step and scoring or getting making it really difficult for Copenhagen. But again, that might have been different if the penalty hadn't been conceded. But they were just essentially left themselves 12 minutes to do something, having not done anything in an attacking sense for 75 plus.
Yeah, he had made the attack in the double substitution, hadn't he? I'm just looking quickly to see how long there was between those substitutions and the penalty.
Barely any.
Oh, was there? Right.
But yeah, I'm sure it was. There must have been
5 minutes. About 5.
Oh, was it? Wouldn't have said as long as that. Because remember, there was a long check between. I think the guys came on, and then
that'll be it. Aye, yeah. So that would take the VAR check into account, definitely. Yeah. So it's like 73rd and then 78th minute, basically.
Yeah. But like Alan James says here, we were found out on the quality and football intelligence. We'll need to limp on until the January window. I hope we bring in some quality. You can't really argue with that.
Well, I mean, I'm not arguing with them, but like to add to it, need to win games between now and then as well, though.
Yeah. That's exactly. Need limp to January, but also finds ourselves being able to run at some point between now and then. Just before we move on to Kilmarnock, I don't know if there's anything else to really touch on the game. Correct me if I'm wrong, but just
Craig Gordon. I mean, we kind of peppered Craig Gordon content throughout what we just spoke about there, but I mean, he deserves like a mention in and of himself. I mean, he kept the score down. There was 2 really good saves with his feet. I've only seen one of them back, and it was a very good reflex save. I have to say it. I thought maybe, without seeing the penalty decision back, I thought maybe it would been, because he's done it before. He has done it before where he's been a wee bit clumsy and gone into an attacker, and he was saying to the referee, hands. And it looked like, I thought he was saying to the referee, I had it in my hands. And I was like, you didn't have it in your hands. But I think what he's saying to the referee, in retrospect, after seeing the replay, it's come off my hands. And then there's just like been a collision or whatever it is that he's saying. But yeah, it did look to me as if he was at it, because it looked like he was saying, I had it in my hands. And there was no way that...
Yeah, I've not read because I know he spoke to Barry after the game last night, and he talked Barry, and he talked about what he had with the referee. I've not actually got around to reading it. Just saying that 2 seconds. What did he say? Got it up here just now. I was standing still when the contact was made. He comes through the back of the defender to get a slight touch of the ball, kicks it onto me, then follows through onto me. If that happens anywhere else on the pitch, you probably get a foul. I didn't get the foul, and for some reason, somebody looking at a TV screen has managed to interpret that in a totally different way when the ref had a good grasp of the situation in the first place. So yeah, I think that's a pretty accurate summation from a guy who was involved in the situation. But yeah, it was after us having that conversation about the goalkeeping situation and me talking about stats, he has kept a clean sheet against Dundee and then put in a really good performance against Copenhagen. Now, the current situation, we'll obviously come on to talk about this later on in the week, but Hearts are 23rd, if I'm correct.
Yeah, slipped down. Dinamo Minsk also beat Larne, I noticed. So we got half the points we got.
Yes, yeah. They're very unlikely to get through. So essentially, it all comes down to next Thursday at Tynecastle. Petro Club are the visitors. Essentially, Hearts just need to win. Just beat a team, one of 2 that are already eliminated from the competition. Just win 3 points, and then that gets Hearts into the knockout stage, the playoff round of the knockout stage. A draw could be enough, but It depends on very different permutations, results elsewhere. I counted one, two. There's 6 games, 6 other games in the Conference League next week, which could have a significant bearing on the standings if Hearts did get a draw. But my view is forget about the draw, just win against a Moldovan team, a team third in the Moldovan league who are second bottom of the 36 team standings. Just win, and then we've got at least one trip in February.
I think we like to get a football expert on from each team before we play them in Europe. And I think we're going to struggle. I think we're going to struggle for this one.
Same with Dino Minsk as well.
Yeah, and when I wrote a quick sort of cheat sheet for each of the opponents after the draw, and just about every one of them had like something interesting about them. Even Dynamo Minsk, there was stuff you could find. There was hardly anything beyond just like raw statistics for this league. So don't really know what to expect from them at all, other than Hearts are a better team and they've just got to win in a similar way that Copenhagen were a better team to Hearts and needed to win to get their qualification. I mean, I'm not entirely sure. I've not really looked at it since all the results last night, so I don't know if 8 is enough for them. In my head, I think they've got an away trip to Rapid Vienna or something like that. I don't know if 8's enough or whether they need a point or whatever. But you want to come in and do you have an idea about it? I go for it.
Yeah. So I was just going to say the Copenhagen are one of 16 teams who have already qualified. So the 16 teams are Chelsea, Vitória de Guimarães, Fiorentina, Legia Warsaw, Lugano, Shamrock Rovers, Cercle Bruges, Jagiellonia Białystok, Rapid Vienna, Apoel, Djurgårdens, Paphos Ghent, Olympia Ljubljana, FC Heidenheim, and Copenhagen. So some familiar names in there.
Exactly.
Obviously, some of those will, I would imagine 8 of those teams will be straight into the last 16. So there's Hearts won't face Chelsea in the knockout stage. They won't face Fiorentina or Legia Warsaw, teams like that, I don't think, because of the points. But there could be a draw against a team we've already faced. Hopefully not, but that could be the case. But in terms of just sorry to jump in on Petro Club, their results so far in the Conference League, they've been beaten 4-1 by Paphos. They have been beaten 2-0 by Jagiellonia Białystok.
They got a draw in Istanbul.
Yeah, they've been beaten 3-0 by 3-0 by Rapid Vienna, and they drew 1-1 with Başakşehir in Istanbul, and were beaten last night 1-0 by Real Betis.
Yes, I saw that. So, I wouldn't say a disgraceful set of results there or anything like that. It's not like they've been the proverbial whipping boys or anything like that, despite the lack of points. But at the same time, as I said, when the chips are down, and when they were down for Copenhagen last night, they were a better team than Hearts. They just had to beat them. They did. Hearts gave them a wee bit of a helping hand, I would say. But yeah, Hearts just have to be a better team than this Moldovan mob, not to be disrespectful. They just simply have to win the game. That's it. I mean, I know that there's a bit more pressure on it than there was, because Hearts were high flying early in this tournament, and the recent record, as Critchley was saying, he was being realistic about it, to be fair. He was saying if it had been the other way about, then they would go into the last game on a high. But now he was kind of realistic that not winning in the last 3 games of this competition and not scoring a goal it means that Hearts have to get themselves up for it and to get themselves over the line.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I checked on e-ticketing to see because it gives you kind of numbers on each section. I think there's roughly 1,200 seats still to be sold, and I imagine they'll be snapped up between now and Thursday, because it's not. Again, wrote this in the piece that I put up earlier on about the Conference League. It's not a European night, as in hosting Bayern Munich or Stuttgart, Liverpool or Tottenham Hotspur, but it's still a really big night because of what can happen with the result. And
yeah, exactly. And Hearts fans, I mean, even in adversity this season, Hearts fans have turned up in fantastic numbers all over the place this season. So yeah, no doubt that it will sell out because of that, and because of as you say, the magnitude of the game and what it could lead to.
Before we move on, a big-nosed, glue-sniffing disciple says Petrol Club play a bit like St Mirren. A wee bit more nervous now.
I don't know if I like that or not. Yeah,
reading that. Yeah. Not sure. Not sure. Before we finish up, we'll just quickly look ahead to the Kilmarnock game. If I'm really looking forward to the Petrol Club game, I'm slightly dreading this just because
I just don't know who's available.
Yeah. Lauren Shankland will definitely be out. Frankie Kent, it was on crutches leaving the ground last night, according to Mark Donaldson.
You could just see the way he was leaving the pitch that he was going to be nowhere near a football field by Sunday.
Yeah, exactly. So those two are Shankland's definitely out. Kent is very much likely to be out. Benny could be touch and go just by going by Critchley's comments. Craig Halkett, wasn't really definitive on whether Halkett would be back for Sunday.
But
I think he said it was hopeful.
Sound like it was, yeah, exactly. So it sounded like it didn't sound long term, because it did sound like he was hoping that he would be available for Thursday, and then he wasn't. They were hoping it would die down overnight, basically, or something like that, and it didn't. So that sounds like he's a doubt for Sunday rather than out. I
wonder if it's one where they will push him with Kent being injured. They'll try and maybe push him that wee bit more to play. If I was Derek McInnes and Kilmarnock, I'd be rubbing my hands at the prospect of Hearts coming to Rugby Park on Sunday, just because of the European exertions on Thursday. They've played Copenhagen. They've had that experience before, but then missing two very key players, maybe more. And where the league is as well, Kilmarnock will want to make it very, very difficult for Hearts. They want to put the ball down Hearts' throat. You mentioned Vassell earlier on. They want to get the ball wide and cross it as much as possible, put as much pressure on the Hearts' defences as they can. How are you feeling towards this game, Craig? And I know I'm putting you on the spot. What would you do team-wise?
No, don't believe me, man. I've been thinking about it. I'm a bit apprehensive, more apprehensive about this game now. If Halkett's available, that's a huge factor, I think, as well as Forrester, Oyegoke and Rowles have done, relatively speaking, versus Aberdeen and Copenhagen from midway through a first half. I wouldn't be. Excuse me, sorry. I wouldn't want to be relying on that long term. It doesn't seem like you'd want one of Halkett or Kent in there, ideally for this weekend and looking forward. The midfield depends on whether Benny's fit. I don't think you can really say much beyond that. Up front, I think it's going to be Musa and Wilson. I mean,
through the middle.
I mean, they're both going to be playing, yes, but it depends which formation he goes for, because that's what makes it difficult. One of them could play in behind, but I think they'll probably be the two central forwards. I wonder whether Musa. I mean, who else would you play? Well, that's the main thing, isn't it? Sorry, man, I'm tired. I'm slurring and stuff.
No. What I was going to say was
number 9. That's the big thing. That's the big question mark here. Lauren Shankland's not available. Even in his most out of form this season, even he's had games where he hasn't played that well, but and wasn't scoring for ages. He was still getting picked every week. He was still starting every week. Now he's not available. That's the big question. Who's the number 9? And could be Boyce, but I think it's probably going to be Musa, isn't it?
So I'm not sure. I don't think you can play them both as a front pairing, just because I think they're maybe too similar in that they want to run in behind, and that's where I think you could play Wilson through the middle and then Musa off the right, and then you can bring in Danda maybe to play as a number 10, and then have Spittle on the left. I mean, it's beyond. So I think it's going to be if it's an attacking quartet, 3 of Spittle, Musa, and Wilson, and then like who do you pick? Who do you pick as your fourth option? So it's going to be difficult, just because you look at James mentions it here. Both will get ragdolled at Kelly. Kelly just
you mentioned Danda. I mean, that's another small player against Kelly as well.
Yeah, I know that's thing, but it's like 4. Kelly, usually their 4 defenders could all play a centre back, and it's going to be tough. There's no way around it.
I thought that I did think that Wilson struggled a wee bit with the physicality against Dundee. But I think Musa's handled it quite well. I thought the Aberdeen game was a good example of that. They were targeting him for fouls and stuff, and it didn't really
strong. He's awkward.
Put him off his game. Yeah, I think he's kind of handled it quite well. But yeah, Wilson, and listen, I'm not arguing against the general point that that comment was making, that the two of them together could potentially the same point as you're kind of making. It just might not work. But I don't think that's why I was saying centrally, because I don't think we'll probably not go with a front 2 anyway. I don't think.
Yeah.
Probably be. I get it wrong quite a lot. Like I say, get the players right quite a lot, but I get the shape wrong. But I would again think it would be a 4-2-3-1.
Yeah. Same. I can't. I just can't picture Critchley going with Wilson. There's 2 experienced guys who their aim is to kind of run in behind, playing as a front 2. You never know. It could work, and it could push Kelly back and open up space for the others. You could, if you had Danda and Spittle as kind of narrow players off the flanks. But yeah, we'll see come Sunday. That's
Spittle on the left anyway. Do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
For a start,
just keep Spittle and Penrice together as a partnership. But we'll leave it there until. I'm not sure what the plans are for the next video, but there will be one post Kilmarnock, whether it's me on the day of the game or me with someone on Monday, and then we'll be back later on next week to look ahead to the Petrol Cup game. We'll have stuff going up on the site building up to that. But until then, thank you very much, everyone, for continuing to engage, support, listen, etc. One other thing I would ask is if you haven't, but if you could subscribe to the Hearts YouTube channel, that certainly does help us, and it'd be much appreciated. If you don't watch stuff on YouTube, but this is available as a podcast as well. It'll go up later on today. But yeah, until the next time, thank you very much, everyone. Have a lovely weekend, and speak to you again soon. Bye-bye.